Well, look at that. David Clark. Hey, everybody, I am Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. Good to see you. It's Sunday last time I checked, and we're going to be talking about Blake Rushite. We're going to be talking about Blake Lively and a lawsuit that she's filed. And I'll tell you, people, in this day and age, right, when somebody files a lawsuit in Hollywood, it's an exciting thing for me. And I think you're going to dig this one, peeps. I think you're going to dig this one. I think this is one for the good guys. Karma Chameleon, how you been? Glad that you're here. Karma Chameleon. Can't resist. Sorry, Culture Club rocked. Don't mock me. Snake, how are you? Good to see you. Heather in the library, doing all right? Hello, Andrew B. Good to see you. Cheeky, how you been? Perfect timing? Wow, that doesn't happen to me very often. I'll take perfect timing. Allison Metcalf Palumbo, howdy, how are you? You're not late for a change, Will. How about that? Hold on one second, folks. Hold on one second. Be patient with me. I need some equipment. I should have put on the purple pimp hat since we're doing since we're doing Hollywood filth. But we'll get back to that, I promise. Let's see who we got. Who are we missing? That's the question. Hope Between the Dreams. There you are. I hope this is good because our lover says hope. Well, good. I'm not here to say anything bad about her. Kestrel, good to see you. How are you? Been a day of technical difficulties. It's come my kind of day, sadly. Sharon Clark Monique, how are you? Nettawood Mullenix. Love that. Regina Cha-Cha. Good to see you. Hey, Crystal Phoenix Rising. How are you, Ben? Stacey Shelby, howdy. Good to see you. Lori Ellington. G. Mary. Pamela Morrow, good to see you. Monica, how are you? Cooter by the Lake. The lawyer, did a deep dive on this last night. The lawyer, well, how about that? Michael, well, good. Then maybe this will make it even easier because I really, me, I'm not the deep dive type. I'm the opinion type. Chris, Teresa Clay, how are you? I'm not smart enough for all that stuff. Funky Mama, how you been? Bill Herrera, good to see you. Lisa Trimble, not good. Been, yeah. It's not bad for Blake Lively. It's not good for Hollywood. It really isn't. This is kind of a recurring theme, peeps. This is a recurring theme. And I've said before, we're going to have to get to a point where we either do something. I always like to say hi and then I lurk. Can't chat and listen. Well, I respect that. I'll be honest. I can't do two things at once anymore either. And I'm getting to the point, honestly, where sometimes I question the old gray matter. Angie Mo, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Anything that we're sitting at a time right now where it's really difficult to believe anything that you hear, anything that you see, anything that you read. You happen to catch any of these shorts? They might be an advertisement for auto insurance, or they might be an advertisement for it's the weirdest stuff in the world. But I saw one yesterday for auto insurance where there's a girl walking across the street. And an SUV, the largest one you've ever seen, I'm figuring, I don't know, maybe an Escalade or something like that, or a Suburban, very, very large SUV, smacks into this girl at like 60. And she puts her hand out like this, and the entire vehicle just folds around her like the Shmoo cartoon character used to. And of course, none of this is real. But as you watch this come in, you go, holy hell. My brain can't tell you that's fake. And we live in a world right now where it's very difficult to tell what is real and what is not. You follow me? Yeah, $3,000 over there with Lionel. You gotta love that. You really do. I love watching them kill it. I really do. I love watching them kill it. Chrissy Never in Newton, good to see you. How are you? Glad that you're here. Cobra Live, good to have you. No doubt her hubby, Ryan Reynolds, is supporting her. As a matter of fact, you're going to see a whole lot of that throughout this process, I assure you. Meredith Lynn, how are you? He was down at all of the meetings that she had with this creepy dude that she is suing. I'm going to go this full disclosure road and tell you that I knew nothing about who this dude was. This Justin Baldoni, never heard of him. I gave up. I told you this. I have not watched a movie. I haven't watched a football game. I haven't done any such thing in at this point over a decade. I don't. Nothing new at all. I've watched really old films with the Quibster, but I've not watched anything new. He's a no-name actor, says Crystal. Well, he also happened to direct this. Bumblebee Seafoods, good to see you. How are you? Shelly, good to see you. Bumblebee Tuna. So let's see what this cat looks like, shall we? Because honestly, this is not, you guys probably know better than me, right? But it's going to be this cat on the right-hand side of my screen. I don't know whether that appears on the right-hand side of yours or not, but it would be the one who's not blonde and beautiful. So that is a gentleman by the name of Justin Baldoni, and he is being sued along with some other people by Blake. And some of this is pretty standard operating procedure for your run-of-the-mill creep. By that, I mean, we're talking a lot about inappropriate things said to women, stupid things, right? He had been in private contact with her personal trainer, a lot of stuff busting on her weight, and being really concerned. Allegedly, this guy broke down in tears because, as he reported to Blake Lively, they're beating you up so badly in the press because they say you look fat and old and this kind of thing. Just like a passive-aggressive piece of shit way to get your message out to somebody that you want them to lose weight. But again, kind of run-of-the-mill stuff. This was a hostile working environment, and no woman should have to deal with it. And there were a bunch of women there that were having to deal with the same kind of stuff. And you never would get away with this anywhere, right? Except Hollywood, right? Keeping it real, this wouldn't go on anywhere else these days, or shouldn't, without somebody in HR coming down and going nuts. We really are getting better at that kind of stuff. I'm not saying we're perfect, but we've certainly got a lot better. But I don't think Hollywood knows what HR is. Maybe I'm wrong. Certainly doesn't seem that way, right? But she didn't take any crap, and I love this. During the filming of it, she didn't take any crap. This guy was putting in sex scenes that didn't make any sense, and he was talking to her about his junk and just a lot of really weird crap going on. I'm willing to take all of that, roll it into a package, and say I'm going to believe the people that are alleging that these guys are dirtbags. I'm going to go with that, right? Till we see otherwise, I'm going to believe Blake Lively on this, and I'm just going to stipulate, right? Not as a lawyer, but as a convict. I'm going to stipulate that what she's saying in this lawsuit, I believe, right? But that's not the part of this that is as disturbing to me as I hope it will be to everybody else, because this is a standard case of somebody being a douchebag and a creep, right? And sexually harassing women at the workplace. But once she complained about it, once Blake Lively brought this to people's attention and said, hey, this is a hostile work environment, I'm not going to put up with it, and she started to stand up for herself, and I think this is admirable as hell. One of the other reasons she was doing this is because she has a voice, right? She has a voice. Her husband has a voice. These are people that have power in Hollywood. There were people on the set that didn't have that power. People like makeup girls and people like, grips and things, that just workers who were continually going through the same treatment. And I think Blake Lively has said that she was going to speak up for those people as well. This is where it gets creepy for me. Once she started to do that, Lively started to sue about when all of this started to get ugly and they started to have problems with her. They allegedly hired a PR firm to take her apart. And the way that these things work, people, ought to scare the hell out of every one of us, right? Because you're listening to me right now. Now, look, we're a teeny little YouTube channel, right? And we don't kind of fit any real mold. We're not that kind of channel, right? But there are channels out there that got 150,000, 200,000 people, and there's always 4,000 or 5,000 in the chat. And if you want to get 3 or 4 of those or 5 of those, you can control the narrative. See, there is no more big time news. It doesn't kind of work the way it used to, right? Back in the day, you would get maybe extra, right? There were those kind of shows that just sort of talked about Hollywood. TMZ was one, right? There were these shows that highlighted this kind of crap, and people watched them constantly, right? And you sent out stringers and you sent out paparazzi to take photos and try to get all of this stuff. Now we live in kind of a different age, don't we? And if the narrative gets picked up by 20 YouTube creators and they're decent size, well, then the smaller ones, people like me, are probably going to take a look at these stories and say, wow, maybe I'll take a look at this. Correct. My understanding is this is a film about domestic violence, which is irony. The irony in that is thick. Suppressive Squirrel says, watch the movie. It sucked. No chemistry, no plot, poor acting. Well, we can blame old Baldoni for that, apparently, because he not only was the actor, but he was also the the narcissist directing the puppy, right? This was his vision. And there were supposed to be, he wanted to write in some really weird sex scenes where there was a scene where he and Blake, the female character, Blake Lively's character, would climax at the same time. And everybody that looked at this said, this doesn't make any sense at all in the script. Why is this in there? And he went on to elaborate about, well, that's how he and his old lady, his woman managed to get this always at the same time, which, by the way, hats off to you. Well done. But maybe don't share that with people at work, you perv. Honestly, you wouldn't do that if you fixed copiers. Am I wrong? Like, you wouldn't do that at any other carpet cleaner. Hey, how you doing? Good. Me and the old lady every time. Oh, good stuff. Want to hear about it? Apparently, he also liked to show some pictures that were kind of inappropriate. This was not a cool work environment. But to hire law firms to go out of their way to make her look like she was difficult to work with, right? She's a bitch, right? Like, that was the narrative. They were going to turn this woman into someone that, when you heard Blake Lively, you heard, she was one of those, right? And it worked. Sadly, it did. This put a serious hurt on this person's reputation. Thoughts and prayers to Lisa Trimble, please. Lisa's one of my favorite people. A few scenes that were in it were minimal, and the hinted to R was well done. And you know what's amazing about that is this. He complained after, right? After the after the film was made, after the scene was made, he complained that he didn't look sexy after that scene. Who's going to look sexy after something? This is it really is creepy as hell to think about what was going on. As this film was being made, it was almost like, once again, right? People with a crap load of money that kind of want to use their cash to do whatever they want, make other people uncomfortable, and kind of groove to that. But he picked the wrong girl. Blake Lively's not taking it, right? Now, TMZ broke a story that Lively was suing for sexual harassment. And she's also talking about this coordinated effort to destroy her reputation. The lawsuit, Blake's attorney, includes text messages that were recovered via subpoena, messages between Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel. Now, you may not know those names, but you're gonna. These are two public relations pros. And I'll tell you, you look at them, just women in their early 30s, white women, the text messages that they have between these people going back and forth, talking about destroying this woman, putting out stuff that was absolute BS, right? The majority of the socials are pro-Justin. She starts complaining, and they said, no, everybody just loves him. Nothing you can really do about that. Lively's team also accuses Nathan of saying she wanted to plant pieces this week on how horrible Blake is to work with. Genius. They do this by text message. If there is ever a lesson that anyone should learn, right? Everybody, stop texting things that you don't want the entire world to read, right? They're going to come back. And they're going to be read. But this is the question, folks. Currently, right now, in the environment that we're in, right? I think I smell a paradigm shift coming. I really do. I think it's starting to change. I don't think people are going to take crap. You know what? Did this rise to the level of these guys whipping their junk out and doing stuff like Diddy? It didn't. But you know what? You let a guy film 2 or 3 films like what was just happening. It's when people are allowed to do things that are illegal, where it starts to pick up momentum. And worse, Sean Combs is a pariah. There's nobody in the United States of America that does anything on social media that's defending this guy. And I mean, nobody. Look, he's innocent until proven guilty, yada, yada, but there's a lot of smoke there. When 140 or whatever women and men come forward to say this happened to me, you start questioning whether or not there's obviously something really ugly going on there, right? However, the other Sean is a completely different animal, isn't it? Why is it that cat gets a different treatment than his best friend? The only guy he allows to call him Sean. And in the beginning, I said to him, we did a couple shows on it. I said, why does this feel so different? Huh? Why is Voldemort's treatment by everybody, including TMZ, sorry, why did they treat him so much differently? Why are they going after the 13-year-old? And you go, well, maybe the story is this. They didn't go after the 13-year-old the first time the story was told, right? The story was out in the press for a month and a half, 2 months. Nobody went after the victim. They didn't go after the victim until Voldemort became Celebrity A. Well, this lawsuit from Blake Lively gives us an opportunity to look at what goes on. If somebody in Hollywood doesn't like you, and you know what? We see it in YouTube in smaller ways, don't we? Somebody commented there's 3,000 people over on the, with my partners over on the Sean Atwood program, the people I work with over there. Great group of people. And there is a large creator, got about 500,000 subs out there right now, trashing Sean Atwood. And she's trashing Sean Atwood about a video that she claims he's never met, had nothing to do with Sammy the Bull Gravano. And there's no film coming out that's all a hoax and this and that. I'm here to tell you, there's a deal going. HBO contacted him 2 days ago. It's real. It's there. It's like what this woman is saying is demonstrably able to be proven BS. Then why is she doing it? Makes no sense, right? Why would anybody do something that is going to get proved, guaranteed is going to get, I don't know. But I'll tell you something. Sean ruffled some feathers. Sean has been platforming Jaguar Wright. Voldemort hates Jaguar Wright because Jaguar Wright will just say what he believes to be the truth on him and does not have a problem. Kim says HBO announced it the next day. Yeah, that is too funny. But literally that's what happened, right? That is what happened. He filmed anyway, Suppressive Squirrel, and there are going to be people who question that, and they're going to put up the dollar signs. But let me tell you how this works, right? Honestly, let me tell you how this works. They go in there, and her agent brings this script, and they bring the script, and everything comes together. She was not assaulted, right? This was inappropriate behavior. People saying things they shouldn't say. These films have massive budgets. There are all kinds of moving parts, and this may sound stupid to people, but it's the truth. How many people are going to work on this film? Right? You got a budget of $70 or $80 million, $100 million. How many people are going to work on this film? How many people come together? When the face diaper thing happened, you know, people, there were small groups in Hollywood going out of business. Not that's, you know, I don't like Hollywood, but a lot of the people that are supplying lights and doing things of that nature and the blue collar kind of people. I would imagine that there's a lot of legalese, right? She was going in there and bitching in a very big way and bringing her husband in to do the same, right? Allegedly, Ryan was going in there, I think, to kind of do we really need to have a healthy work environment, right? And then as soon as they were done, I'm sure he said something along the lines of, I'm going to crush your friggin' larynx, right? Because I don't know any other husband that wouldn't have said that, right? You can't fix stupid. You absolutely cannot fix stupid. It's impossible to. And sadly, we live in a place, right? This is the world, right? She had a ton of leverage before she filmed, and I would imagine, Suppressive Squirrel, that she used it. For real. I would imagine that she used it. Now, if he had finished the film and she had moved forward and life was great, we wouldn't be talking about this lawsuit. Because, as I said, or tried to stipulate to, the sexual harassment part of this, what caused this to be an issue, right, is what they did after she came and complained. They sat down, they had like an arbitration type of thing to talk about this. And then these people went into we're going to kill her career mode. And they didn't make this up. She's not pulling this out of left field. There are text messages where these people talk about, we're going to destroy this woman. We're going to make the world believe that this woman is a shrew and that nobody on earth will ever want to work with her again. That's ugly. That's ugly. And it's scary as crap because right now we're living in a world where people are manipulating the things that we're hearing. You think Voldemort is just, he's just a good dude, man. He's not like that other guy. That other guy's just bad people, but old Voldy, like that's a solid dude. Give me a deuce if you think we're being manipulated, not on the Diddy stuff, right? But really on the other Sean. Now, look, that doesn't mean that the information that's getting down to us on Diddy isn't being leaked out or filtered out or any of that. I believe that some of it is, to be sure. And that's why That's why we don't go to places, with the massive media or whatever, right? If you watched below the, normal media, then you're finding stuff out weeks before they announce it. You really are. The stuff that the people on YouTube and social media talks about weeks before the people up top aren't nervous about running with it. Their legal teams have to look through things 45 times. And God bless them, I get it, right? You can't fix stupid, but you can run by with a 2x4. I like it. I like it. Sure, there is suppressive squirrel. And you know what? I don't have a problem with healthy discussion. I don't have a problem with healthy discussion at all. But here's my view on this. Thank you, Heather Peterson. I really appreciate you. I really do. I love the Atwood crew too, big time. And you can take a side. You don't even have to take my side. But what we're seeing is the curtain getting pulled back on the fact that a PR firm isn't necessarily a PR firm, right? Public relations is what? If I said to you, you had to hire a PR firm, right? What would you say? What you would say is this: boy, something bad happened to Tommy, right? There are people out there and they're calling him a scumbag, or they're saying that he did this, or they're saying that he did that, and he kind of has to fix his reputation. So you hire a public relations firm, and their job is to come in and build you up, right? And try to help out to see whether or not you can be rehabilitated in terms of reputation for the brand, because you are, for better or worse, if you're in entertainment at any level, a brand. But that's not what we're talking about here, is it? What we're talking about is hitmen, or hit women in this case. These are people that are going to go out and destroy a person's reputation, or in this case, a person's brand. Blake Lively is an actress, and there are people all over Hollywood now that would go, I don't want to work with her. I mean, you heard what they said about the woman, right? She's hard to work with. That is a narrative that has caught some traction, right? And why? Well, I think you could probably thank Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, allegedly. People who went out and they've got connections. That ought to make you nervous. That ought to make you nervous. And you need to be circumspect. You need to look for really odd things, right? Like content creators who seem to go A-A-A-A-A-L, right? Content creators where they have a certain thing that they seem to believe. There's a narrative. If I came out tomorrow and I said, hey, boy, that's Sean Carter. No, we're wrong. He's a good dude. I was reading over that paper, and there's not a doubt in my mind this guy's never done a thing wrong. You'd go, oh, crap, what happened? Right? They got Tommy. I thought that was a new watch, right? Like that kind of thing. But this is happening. Suppressive Squirrel says this whole thing reeks of typical Hollywood insanity, sort of like the Democrats trying to gaslight us with the last 4 years. Yeah, well, we can't do that. And, honestly, do me a favor for that, and I'm not busting your chops. I promise you I'm not. But what happens is there'll be some people here that I know politically, if a person doesn't agree with us in these days in America, it doesn't mean they disagree with us. It means they're stupid, and we shouldn't be allowed to allow them to breed. And that's the problem, right? When we get back to a point where we can just kind of disagree with one another, then we'll start getting back to when we can have conversations like that. But in the interim, I really dig the people here, like all of them. And my fear is I'm going to get people bummed out. Half of them are going to be mad at you, and the other half, let's just all get along. I think we can all agree that Hollywood's got some issues, and we can rally around the things that we kind of agree to. PR firms that are hit pieces, and I understand writing a hit piece too, right? This happens. But look at what the stuff that we're seeing now again and again. Mariah Carey's husband decides she doesn't like him, and we end up with who? J-Lo, right? By all accounts, she's not writing her stuff. She's not singing her stuff. They just created somebody because they wanted to really piss off his ex-wife. The woman's worth $500 million now, and there's people all over America and probably the world that believe she was complicit in at least one shooting. Right? Wow. Which means if she was, then she's been hiding this for a really, really long time. There is my brother, the Johnny Scoville. If you've never gone over to Chase the Heat, people, you should go over and check it out. Johnny's not doing some stuff right now with my cat is taken to really hanging out with my brother. It's kind of a bummer, man. Kind of a bummer. But truthfully, he has he's got a thing going where he tells the cats jokes. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Should definitely get over there and check it out. It's funny, funny stuff. I mean, you might want to wait until I'm done. It'd be worth hanging out. Yes, Hitman reminds me of Amber Heard trying to get money from Johnny Depp. Honestly, there's a lot of this that goes on. There's an awful lot of this that goes on, right? 16 subscribers away from 148K. People, get over there and get him 16 subscribers. 140. Rub that in, Johnny Scoville. I can't even see that yet from where I'm at. Politics is an excuse to not agree. What's new? It's called life. Don't mean we need to hate each other. And it didn't used to be that way. I remember, I talk about this, and I won't go off on too big a rabbit hole, but I remember growing up, there would have barbecues, and we would have both political parties represented there, and they'd rib each other like no tomorrow. Like they'd crack jokes, but nobody ever tried to get angry at one another. It is the movie production person trying to harass her, to be sure, right? It's him hiring the PR firms. But just know how easy this is if somebody has money. The firms that these people were using to do this to her, they're in business. They're not gone. And would you be willing to bet some money that if you started to chase down who those firms are working for right now, there'd be a crap load of names that I've been talking about on this channel for the last 4 or 5 months? Bank on it. Bank on it. Public relations isn't what it used to be. There are people out there running psyops right now, for real, hiring professionals, right? People that have been trained by governments to do psyops so that they can exactly weaponize social media and do this in such a way so that they can get things done. It is hard to survive the troll masses, especially when they point them at you, right? If you're a content creator and you got more than 1,000 people on your channel, you've had people take runs at you. But imagine having an organized group of people who do this professionally, having boiler rooms full of people tearing you apart. Imagine being maybe, who knows, the nicest woman in Hollywood, right? Anybody that happens to know this woman doesn't have a lot bad to say about her. It looks like they really have done a hit piece on this person. And you know what? I love that someone's going to hold someone to the mat to this. Right? I'm sure that you've heard things. You ever hear that I recently stole a bunch of firearms? Did you guys hear that one? Huh? Totaling vehicles, stealing watches. You guys hear any of this stuff? The thing is, it takes nothing to smut someone up. And since Atwood has started to do what he's doing, he picks fights. He doesn't care. You got to tip your hat to that. Because currently, he's being named by Voldemort. Right? Allegedly is my favorite word, right? It's my favorite word, people. Hey, Justine, good to see you. Hey, Shelly, what's happening? Public relations equals cover up. And I'll tell you what, I don't have a problem with that. I don't want to see it used as a weapon. You want to go out there and you want to do a little misinformation campaign because you're trying to save your butt. I think people do that to some degree everywhere. Maybe you don't have a big social media presence, but you got a couple of people pissed off at you. So what do? You call your friend Tony and you try to get to him before the next guy does. Hey, man, Steve's going to call you. He and I are beefing, and he's going to call you, and he's going to tell you this, right? It's damage control. Everybody does it to some degree. But this is different. This isn't somebody trying to save themselves. This is somebody trying to destroy somebody else for having the audacity to say, hey, I don't want you talking about your penis during work hours. Don't tell me how long it is. Don't tell me what you're into, right? Or talk to me about sex with your significant other. This is a workplace. I mean, there's a camera here and it's Hollywood or whatever, but there should, I guess, I don't know, man. Misinformation is a classic tactic since early on. Absolutely. I got the book behind me, Sun Tzu, right? Art of War. They talk about misinformation. It's the best thing you can do, right? Especially if you can get your own troops wondering. And we live in a day, folks. We live in a day where all someone has to do in order to have an opinion and have the world hear it is have the guts to hit record, right? And you go, yeah, but they're not going to get any hay with it. I've had people that hate me and talk about me for 3 years. They're never going to get off the ground. They won't get monetized. People don't buy hate. I mean, it's small. They wander by and listen to it, but it's not anything that sells. This guy took on the wrong power couple. I agree with you. Oh, wow. This is a great question, man. This is a great question. What is the biggest misinformation with the Diddy case that you have seen so far? I'll tell you what. It's almost impossible to answer that because I could do one a day, Mary. I literally could do one a day. Every day there's some line of crap that where they put something out that is so patently absurd, and they know it's absurd, and they're not worried about it because if you could get 50,000, 60,000 people to watch your video, right? And you can do this 3 or 4 times a week, you're going to make a living. That's a paycheck, right? So they will do one every once in a while with such a wild and over the top BS. They'll do the worst one I've seen so far. Diddy escapes. That was the worst headline, the worst thumbnail I've seen so far. Now, if you do a video and you're just a clickbaiting piece of crap and you go, Diddy escaped getting transferred to such and such a facility, or he escaped going to the hole by admitting this, this, and this. Okay, they didn't do any of that. They just acted as if that wasn't part of what was going on. And they played a 4-minute soundbite on a loop, right? 5 times to get you through a 20-minute video. And this is constant. It's constant. There's also there's an awful lot of AI generated pictures that are just BS. There's a lot of AI generated stuff. With the discernment, we're getting to a point now where what's crazy is, and I heard a guy say, a gentleman that watches The Lifeboat, who is trained in such things, is a former guy from the Army. And I said, if you were going to do a psych op and you were one of these guys and you wanted to try to figure out a way to help this, what would you do? How would you do it? Like, what would you do for a psych op? And he said he'd go in the opposite direction. Instead of putting out stuff about what a great guy Diddy is or whatever, he would make videos where it kept getting more and more ridiculous, where the headlines say stuff like, secret underground tunnels with animals, and right, make it as crazy as possible, crazy sounding as possible, and make as much of it as you can. Because the idea is, if you can make everyone question everything that they're seeing, well, then if somebody comes on and tells the truth, if somebody comes on and just tells you what's going on without any of you're not going to believe that any more than Diddy escapes or Diddy found dead on cell floor or any of the crap that people put out. Did you happen to see one the other day? There was one that said there was an actress that they said had passed away in a car wreck. And I'm looking at it going, oh my God, like no one has heard. No one, she's not gone. She made a thumbnail that said that somebody died in a car. It was a picture of a absolutely wrecked piece of steel. And I went, you got to be kidding. And what's sad is we came down here to get away from everybody buying the truth up there. And now we have people like these 2 ladies who are employing creators to get out BS. Here's the deal. We'll leak you a couple of pictures, right? We'll leak you a couple of pictures of her on the set going like this, looking like she's about to yell at somebody. And for all you know, they're laughing, right? I've seen some clips of, there's so much of me out there, right? This 2,000 hours or something to me, right? So you want to, you can find any facial expression on earth, right? And take a screenshot of it and then write whatever you want underneath it. Hey, I saw Tommy saying this, and this. It's very easy in this day and age to get people to believe. And the problem is they're going to believe, right, what they see the first time. You can come back and fix it, right? You can come back and fix it. Had an interesting thing happen to me recently where someone had said something really rank and really awful, and it wasn't a lot of truth to it. And the person came back and apologized to their credit and said, I was really angry at you and I was venting. And yeah, I did. I told the story and I made the story even better. I lied about it. I'm sorry. If you want, I'll come on the show. If they came on the show to tell you, it wouldn't do any good. What would happen is it would be a day where 500 people saw it or 2,000 people saw it. I got 27,000 people. So the other 25 would be walking around going, yeah, that dude's no good. You're going to believe what you believe. And I would suggest this. If you come across something and there's a story and the story is just great, go look at everything else the person does. Look at how long the person's been doing it, right? Try to get an idea by looking at other videos. If this is just, there are people out there that you can't believe a word they say. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but there are people out there and that's their business model, right? That's their model. They will come on and they will sling whatever. It sucks to lose, hi Barbie, it sucks to lose credibility. For me anyway, I don't want to put out stuff that's BS. I don't want you guys bailing on me. I don't want you guys, hearing stories and just going, oh God, man, the last thing in the world I want to hear is Scoville on this, But I'm not getting the offers from the big dogs. I must suck. You know what I mean? Like, and the Diddy people haven't come down and said, "Hey, man, would you like to help fix the Diddy problem?" I'm not getting any of that. Voldemort, he hasn't come to me to try to buy me off. I'm a little bummed out. I mean, I wouldn't take it. I just feel like, I'm trying here. You could at least offer me a bribe. Big difference. Blake Lively has been dating and spoused plenty of money, right? Amber Heard had neither and was desperate for at least the money. I think this is probably the answer right here. She had $8 million from Depp and her Aquaman money, all her other movie work. She wasn't poor. I agree with you. She was not poor. However, I also don't think she was stable. And I'm not trying to be a jerk on this one. You know how I feel about mental illness. I'm not picking on her, but I think that what she needed more than anything was to see a therapist and a counselor and really, really start working on who she is, because I think that the woman had some issues. If you're defecating on a bed to get back at somebody, I mean, if that allegation was true, good God, man, like, honestly, driving a deuce in someone's bed, like, I'm even in my wild days, man, like even in the days when I was a really, really bad person, man, but it just wasn't. Bumblebee Seafood. I'm not going to touch that one with a 5-foot pole, but I will tell you this. On the bright side, it's not my girl. I'm doing pretty well. We're getting along just swimmingly, and I feel blessed. What is funny is by this happening, it's getting more attention to the movie, which is actually a good thing for its message. True. And I think something else, man. I think that this is going to be a hookup for those of us that are paying attention, right? I'm going to get the actual court documents, and Casper and I are going to be doing a deep dive on this one, right? Because I think the most important takeaway from this is the smear campaign that they did to her. This to me is the biggest takeaway, because we're going to watch really big names start to drop like flies. We're going to start seeing some real big name people. We're already seeing it. You think LeBron James is having a normal basketball season? You think that what's going on in his life doesn't have anything to do with him shaking like a marital aid because he thinks that there's a damn good chance there are photos of him out there hanging out with a couple of dudes after one of those skins on skins basketball games, right? Where the loser then plays leapfrog, so to speak. Now, your lifestyle is your lifestyle. But he goes out and gets up on a high horse and talks about all kinds of crazy things, man. All kinds of really crazy and bizarre things where he's going to take a stance for all of these people that blah, blah, blah. Why, thank you. OMG, that's a really cool thing to say, man. It really is. I appreciate that. I love that. It's a very kind thing to say. He is in a panic room right now, Chris. Right? Right now, dude is absolutely sitting in a panic room. I'm telling you, like a marital aid. He's having a very, very, very bad time, and he's not alone. You know that, right? He's not alone. Right now, do you think Jennifer Lopez is having a very Merry Christmas? Because she's not. Right? These people are terrified. This is such an unbelievably odd time in our world, right? This has never been like this. There are so many people right now. Do you remember the slap heard round the world, right? When old what's his name, Will Smith went up and put a slap on the comedian. Keep my name out your mouth. Remember that? Okay. So what happened was this. At that time, there was an interview done with Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey said something that I thought was fascinating. He said, I watched it happen live. And I thought to myself, you know what? We're not in the cool kids club anymore. I found that to be a very, very fascinating statement. Okay? We're no longer the cool kid club. And I don't know that they ever were, but they acted like they were for the longest period of time. And we have been treating them like some form of royalty forever, right? Iron Man. You know the guy that played Iron Man? God bless him. I'm a fan. I really am. Robert Downey Jr. Very, very talented actor. And I love a comeback. I do. More than anything in the world, I love a comeback story. And this dude was a comeback story. He was strung out like I was. He was really going hard. However, he got locked up. He had to do time. He had to go and get locked up behind bars for things that he did. He wasn't there a long time. But if I had done what he had done, I'd still be in there. Keep it real, man. Like some crazy stuff happened and they were legitimately nothing weird. But do you know that he went into the wrong house and fell asleep at the foot of a child's bed? Yeah. Now, you're not a Hollywood actor. I promise you, that's going to get you time you can't wrap your brain around. It's called home invasion. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Now, I'm glad he came back. I really am. I'm glad he came back. And it's a great comeback story. But don't think he'd have gotten the same treatment if that fool was not a Hollywood actor. We've been letting people get away with things for so long, right? Half the population worshiped these folks, says Bill Herrera, and I don't think you're far off, man, right? Half the population worshiped these folks. The rest weren't paying attention, myself included. I did a little bit of both. I really did. I mean, I don't think I was never crazy with it, but I had some favorite actors that if they did a film, I was there. There's no chance in hell I wasn't going. Bruce Willis did not. If I was on the street, I didn't miss any Bruce Willis. Kay, absolutely. Do we have some thoughts and prayers with Kay? Kay Canadian says, really feel like she's struggling now. It's a hard time of year, Kay. Please don't leave. Stick around. Please. Thoughts and prayers for Kay. But we're done. And I don't want you to think I'm leading this charge. It's happening, right? It's happening. Other people are talking about it, which is cool because I don't sound nearly as crazy. But there's a paradigm shift going on, and it's so easy. If you've been doing what I've been doing for the last number of years, I get the same number of emails. It hasn't changed. I just don't get anybody that says who cares. I don't get any. Nobody anymore says who cares. And the craziest part of this, as a perfect example, you probably saw me on here with Reese Corbell talking about the Royal Order of Jesters, and we're going to be doing a lot more, and we're taking a run at them. I'm not going to lie to you. These people are not going to be happy. Cooter by the Lake, good to see you. Hey, what's up, Michael? Good to see you. Sharon Clark, what's up? So we did this in July. Same message. It was nothing different about the message at all. It is the exact same message. The only difference was the trip to Vegas. And the biggest difference is I'm getting the same number of emails. And the last time we had a lot that said, you got to do something about this. But it was about a 60-40 split with 60% saying, who cares? What does this have to do? I mean, this isn't a real world problem. It's not a real world problem. And by the way, I've had some pushback there. I know that there's a lot of people that want to really differentiate between, the kind of prostitution where a woman needs to do this for dope and the kind of prostitution. There are people out there. I have offended people by saying I had never met a prostitute that that didn't have a drug problem. I'd never met a happy prostitute in my life, was what I said, and it offended one person in particular. And I will say, since then, I apparently met one, but it has not been my experience that most are. It's not been my experience. In my experience, it has been the exact opposite. And I lived in a part of the planet where prostitution was legal, and they often talk about how, and I say, I want it where the women are safe. If it's a brothel and there's somebody there that can protect the woman, that's a pretty good thing, and I think that that's a better situation, right? But I used to go to those brothels all the time, and before anybody gets really bummed out, I wasn't hiring people, but I used to go down there and visit with the girls, and I would hear stories, and they would talk and they would laugh, and they seemed to be having a great time. Right? But I was there to dump off huge amounts of drugs for all of them. And usually it's been my experience that when people are doing large amounts of drugs, it's not because they're really, really happy. If by some chance I offended anybody, I apologize. I'm talking about my experiences, right? And these are my experiences. I hope I'm not hurting anybody's feelings. I have also gone to Amsterdam at one time. Rich, it's sad, isn't it? It's sad because there are certainly a lot of actors, right, and actresses in Hollywood who have had to compromise their beliefs in order to get, in order to move forward, in order to progress in their career. They had to get on their knees, right? And that's a rugged thing. And unfortunately, we know that this happens, and we know that it happens both women and men. This happens. This is just, and it happens so often. We got a word for it, and we just take it for granted. It doesn't even seem to bum people out anymore, right? It's casting couch. It's casting couch. No, it's someone who's forcing you to do something sexual you don't want to do to get a job. Sounds a lot worse when you say it like that, isn't it? Huh? You got to take your clothes off if you want this job. You're going to have sex with me, whether you like it or not, for this job. That sounds a lot worse than a casting couch. You know, casting couch sounds like somebody might just, right? I hope that men come forward. I hope that more men step forward and say that I did this. I think that we're not going to see as much of that, right? And this is the world we live in, right? Nobody here is stupid. So if it becomes profitable, if these people get held accountable financially for the things that they've done to people against their will, men will come forward, right? If to put up with the abuse in the press, because you know how trolls are. Honestly, the things that I've seen with the lowlives who hang out on the internet. I've told the story before, but we were doing a show once where someone was talking about the fact that they had been abused by a relative, right? To which a group of trolls that popped up in the chat began to ask questions about whether or not the person enjoyed it. Now, can you imagine what it would be for somebody of Bieber's stature if he were to come out and say, you know what, this happened to me. This happened to me. That would be hump, would it not? Trust me, they will go after him in ways that you can't imagine. It's just an ugly thing. It really is. Kay Canadian says, Jody Rimmer, I'm sending you healing energy. I'm not sure what you're going through, but you're never alone on this channel. I love it. I love it. It's a good group of people, folks. It really is. Now, the question becomes, and again, on Monday, we're going to go through this case on the actual filing. But I think what you're going to find more than anything, as far as, I don't know, maybe because of what I do, but I think because of how much we all spend in this arena, because of how much all of us engage in social media, it's a frightening thing to watch, to know that you're being manipulated. We'd like to believe that all of us have the ability to make decisions on, well, I'm going to believe this, I'm going to believe that. I'm taking in from people who I trust, right? We go to trusted sources and we listen and we think, this is a good one, right? Wow, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, but I believe it's probably the truth, right? I believe it anywhere, and I've said this before, anywhere where the person has the ability to either hook you up or decimate you with a decision, someone's going to take advantage of that, right? It's just the nature of the business. When I was addicted to drugs, I used to go and pick up from a guy who lived in a very, very in the hood, a very tough part of town, and about once every month and a half, he would say to me, "Hey, man, can we go by and just dump like $150 on my sister?" And the first time I said, "Your sister's strung out, you know, she's on dope too," and he goes, "No, but she'll have to sleep with the landlord. If we can get her $150, she's not gonna have to bang the landlord." And I remember just thinking to myself, "You got to be kidding me, man! Like, how about if we just go break the landlord's legs?" You know what I mean? Because to me, but anytime someone is in a position with that kind of power, if the person's a lowlife, they're going to use that, right? Sadly, that's where it seems to be. So whether or not it's a glamorous job where you're going to be walking the red carpet, or it's something that you're going to be working, 120 hours a week, if the money's good and they have the ability, a whole group of people that want a very small segment of jobs, it's going to bring out the worst in that kind of people. Karma Chameleon says, as a survivor, I have respect for those speaking out because I never have. Well, you are now, and God bless you, for real. And if you think that you're in this this minority of people that just couldn't muster the strength. You're so far from accurate. It's insane. The vast majority of people do not talk and do not come forward. And it's because they somehow feel shame for something that someone else has done. And we as a society have done a poor job, a piss poor job of making those people feel like they're able to put the blame where the blame is, right? And that shame belongs to the scumbags that did the things that they did. It does not belong to the victims. But for the longest time, this is where it has been. This is how it has been. So I would like to believe that every time somebody steps forward, I think there will be people that will argue this with me, and I'm good for a good argument. It works for me. But I think that what Blake Lively is doing right now is essential, right? Not only is it courageous, but it's essential. And I think that maybe I'm crazy, but I think that this is one of those situations that she's looking at the snapshot of where we're at right now in the world and thinking this is the time to point out that there are these firms, right? There are firms out there that will destroy a human being for money. Whether it's a character assassination or whether it's, right? I guess character assassination is a little nicer than the real thing. But if you do this for a living and someone is able to make people believe you're something other than you are, how bad is that? How awful is that? Stephen Trevor says, $600 million wedding. You got to be talking about, what's his name's wife. I just read about this. You got to be talking about the Amazon guy's wife. Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos' wife, correct? Unfortunately, we end up wearing their shame, says Kim. You're right. You're right. And I'll tell you something else. You know who else is right? Steve's right. Money talks. Sadly, we live in a world where money is the ultimate power. Can we all agree on that? Sadly, right? And I don't mean terrestrial. I believe in a much stronger power, but I'm talking about down here among the swine and the sin. The power is money. And all of the cases that we're seeing are people who are using that money to abuse people and get away with it because they've got the cash, right? Everybody get this? Okay. We have more money than they do. We do. I mean, not me. I don't have a pot pissing. But if we take all of us together, right? If we take society, we have way more money. Way more. I promise. If you took all the 1% of all of the 1% and got all of their cash, it wouldn't put a dent in 1 year's deficit spending that we do as a country. But if you took every other person's cash in America, you would really have a pile of money. All of those little small amounts really add up. And if you start saying, guess what? I'm not spending any of my money with you until you start acting like a freaking human being. We do have the ability to start clamping down. May I make an absolute sitter of a prediction? We're going to see a spinoff of sorts. There are going to be people that are going to start making films in other places, and they're going to brag about how those films are made. They're going to brag about how there's no propaganda in these films. They're going to brag about how no one's getting molested to get the part. You're also going to see this in a lot of other ways because people are going to give people an opportunity to spend their money with people that they don't think are taking that money and then doing crappy stuff with it. Because let's be honest, I don't like the idea that, you know, you go out and you buy a specific brand of booze and you buy, 70 bottles over the course of the time that you're a fan. And that money's doing what? Paying for gamma hydroxybutyrate that this dude can put in baby oil bottles? Huh? You're buying the wrong tequila. I mean, the wrong vodka. That's exactly what was happening. I think it's a pretty good idea to know where your money's going. Honestly. Bill Herrera says, where's that blue pill? Where is that damn blue pill? Isn't that the one that lets us keep napping? Or is that their, I don't remember. I think it was the blue pill. Right? You're right. When you are a child, it fractures your soul. Attempted murder of a soul. I've said this always, right? That type of assault is the attempted murder of a soul. And that's how it ought to be charged. There's no one that I've met in my life that doesn't know somebody intimately that survived that. Survived it. I mean, they're not the same. It doesn't mean you can't heal. It doesn't mean you won't get better and you can, work and you can journal, but you're not ever going to be the same. That innocence that people had gets stolen. And I'm sorry, but I think that there isn't anything hard enough that you could do to those people. Russ, take it easy. I will be sending you an invite. I hope that we see you there. If you can't trust Bill Cosby, you can't trust any man. All men should be poor. That was tough for Bill Cosby. How some people get DI. Yeah, that is how some people get DID. It is. And I'll tell you something. You want to see me get really unpopular? Let's do it. It's that time of year. You know how else a lot of people get DID? Sadly, because that other platform that I don't ever say the name of, right? Go look at how many DID sites are on that platform. They are intentionally pushing it on the youth of our country. They are. It's become a thing. It's cool. You can watch videos of kids jumping from one personality to the next. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. They break this down into different types of DID now, right? You have fictive or factive. Have you heard of this? I've been essayed by a woman, Juliana. 3 of them. Yeah, they do. They usually do it when the boys are not old enough to fight back yet, but they do it. I promise you. And the difference is that when you go and tell somebody, they go, "Good job. Nice, stud." Dissociative identity disorder, split personality, they used to call it. I have a relative who told me stories of being in class and having a student tell the teacher, "I can't do this. I can't do this assignment because right now I'm a first grader named Marvin, right? And this is somebody in the 9th grade, and they instantly just turn into a character that that isn't who they are, and they can't continually. They're not able to move forward, and this is something that is being accepted by. Sorry. Sorry, peeps. Lost my train of thought there for a second. I'll be right with you. But there is a narrative currently. There are people out there that I didn't say social identity disorder. I said dissociative identity disorder, DID, not SID. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I said the one I was talking about isn't social identity disorder. It's dissociative identity disorder. And that is the one that is currently being pitched. And there are kids, youngsters, people in high school that have millions of followers. And they go on every day after school and jump from one personality to another. And they break them into categories. One is called fictive. One is called factive. Fictive means that some of your characters could be Harry Potter or people that you read in books or people that you saw in movies. And that is one of your alters. The factive ones, there's nobody fictitious. These are all fractured personalities that you created, but there are none that. But for people who believe in the fictive part, they'll be in there telling you that currently Harry Potter is there, or they're what's his name from Fast and Furious. It's so they are pretending, says Kim. I don't know. I guess. I mean, I find it fascinating that it didn't happen 10 years ago. It didn't happen 20 years ago. Right? It didn't happen 30 years ago. And I'm not saying there weren't people with it, but it was a fraction, right, of the population. And it was usually thought of, right, until recently, until all of this kind of started to come on with the fictive and the factive and all of this being cool. It was always kind of assumed that this was a way that people would protect themselves from horrific trauma. Their personality would splinter so that one part of the personality could handle the abuse while another part, a way of protecting the brain was the theory, right? But now you have all these people who say, well, I do suffer from DID, but there was no trauma. And there are people who believe that this can happen without trauma. Now that is not, when I studied it, I read about it in books in prison. I'm no genius. I just read about this crap in books. But when I read about it, they said, no, most assuredly, this is caused by people that do this in an order of a way to survive. Disassociating is like a state where you kind of leave your body. In its mildest form, it's daydreaming. If you disassociate very intensely, you might lose memory of what's going on. Dead Cell says it's pretty rare to have full-blown personality switches. That has been my experience as well. And when you watch it, they hop from one to one and do different faces, and some will introduce the rest of them. I'm the social justice warrior. My daughter made me watch about 40 of them one night. My daughter's obviously, she's younger than Spanky. She's the youngest in the family. My daughter will be 21 this year. And one day she was like, Dad, you got to see this. And she took me down about a 5-hour rabbit hole of the two of us sitting there and watching it. It just, it was amazing. Gibson Murphy, thank you very much. Really appreciate you. Dissociative identity disorder. Dissociative identity disorder. Sir Tedrick. All right, people. You know what's happening? In a mere 20 minutes, my brother, the Johnny Scoville, is going live. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm supposed to be with him. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm supposed to be eating something that's going to burn me. Yeah. She shouldn't be smeared on social media. And she doesn't have to be nice. You're right. But by all accounts, she is. And that's kind of what's sad, right? By all accounts, I mean, you don't have to be a nice person, right? But by all accounts, she is. And this is just a smear campaign as a way to try to hurt somebody. Yeah, it's, hold on one second. How many kids do I have? I have 2. I have 2 children. I have a daughter who's about to be 21 and my son who does a show here every morning and will be launching his own network, his own YouTube channel on the first of the year. He's got some really cool stuff planned. I'll be really excited to tell you guys more about that. I hope I was supposed to say that. I hope I didn't leak that. That might have been my kid that was supposed to tell people that. I don't know. I hope not. I hope not. The video of us eating fish. Oh, don't say that you like that. Somewhere Johnny's listening and he's going to come back with the screenshots and say, see, people want you to do more of that. He really does have a pretty good time. My son is amazing. Is he not? My son is amazing. I've been blessed beyond measure, and I can truly say that he is. My son is fabulous in spite of me. You know, he. Yeah. The broom. That's the Nimbus 2000. If the Prius is out of gas and my motorcycle has a flat tire, I will hop on that and like off to Quidditch. You would not believe. My son is the painter. That's right. Spanky is the painter, to be sure. He's amazing. He's amazing. He's for those that don't believe in a God, the fact that my kid turned out the way that he did is proof of that God. Alrighty, people. I'm going to be back tonight. Night Yard. We do this every single Sunday night. 3 convicts at a minimum usually get together and talk about all things prison and yard. Thank you, Gibson. And we will be going tonight at the usual bat time. Oh, Heather, I'm doing a whole show on this. And I've done one already, but I am doing a whole show on this. So stand by. It will be in this upcoming week. And that is because of everything that happened with Diageo, Brand, and Diddy. There's going to be a big deal. There's a lot of tie-in between liquor companies and recording companies that glorify violence and gang activity and the privatization of the prison systems in the U.S. Seems like a very odd combination. But we will be covering that. And that's a hell of a question, by the way. Really, really a great question. All right, people, between now and the next time I see you, reach out and try to save somebody. God bless. Bye-bye.